Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, great. The energy is good. I'm nervous, so I need those good vibes. How are we all doing today? Well, yeah, good, great. So first of all, thank you all for putting this together. I'm really honored to be closing out today's TEDx event. This is my first time addressing an audience like this, and I really appreciate how small it is, so hopefully we can make this kind of participatory and we can all kind of contribute. But before I tell you a little bit about myself, I have a problem, and I need your help. All right, so here's the sitch. I'm here, but it suddenly starts to rain. I mean, we're talking torrential downpours, but I do not have an umbrella. I don't, right? I don't want to end up like this guy, right? So, can you please just take a few seconds to yourselves, not really kind of sharing with your neighbors, but to yourselves, think about some ways that I can get home without getting wet. So if you could just take a few seconds, right? All right, now, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention something. There's another thing, right, another need that needs to be met in this process. And I have my pet unicorn with me, so he can't get wet either. His name's Raul. He's really nice. He doesn't want to get wet either. He's got a haircut, as you can see. All right, so now I want you to think about these problems, but talk to your neighbor about what some of those solutions would be. So I'll give you a few seconds to kind of share what some of those ideas are.
And I keep fixing it, but it keeps just slowly, and you can see it's just very slight.
Alright, can I get a thumbs up? I just get a thumbs up. We all have ideas? Can I just get a thumbs up? Alright. Great. Now there's actually one more thing. One more thing. Alright. The solution that you came up with has to be environmentally friendly. Okay? We both care about the environment, Raul and I, so please make sure it's environmentally friendly. So please just take a few more seconds to share with your neighbors and come up with some ideas that are both environmentally friendly, keep us dry, and work well. Right? So just take a few seconds. Let me get a thumbs up again whenever you're ready. Alright, I'm only seeing a few over here. Do we have more ideas that are coming up over here, or thumbs up maybe? Yes? Okay, great. So just for the sake of time, we can talk about your solutions after this during the workshop. But I'm just going to share my idea really quickly for this. And my idea is something that I call the Pony Express. So as you can see here, Raul and I are making use of the latest in arboreal transit. And what that means for us is we're using manual power to drive us through the rain. And as you see, we're donning the latest in leaf protective technology to keep us dry from the rain. Now, wasn't that fun, right? Isn't that quirky and a little fun to kind of creatively problem solve like that? Well, not only is it fun, but it's useful. And at least once a week, friends and I get together in a club that's on my school's campus at Columbia, just up the block. And we think through these problems, and we take this process seriously, right? And that club is called Design for America. And essentially, Design for America is a national organization that has 21 studios around the country, of which Barnard and Columbia is one. That's actually one of the older ones. And we work together to creatively problem solve using the human-centered design process. Is anyone familiar with that term, human-centered design, just by a show of hands? Okay, we have one, two, okay, great. So human-centered design I'm going to come back to later. But I just want to give you a sense of the national organization that we're working with. And our studio specifically sponsors a number of teams, including mine, which is Design by Play. And Design by Play, which I'll also talk about a little bit more about later, is working on a board game to actually do just what we did. Creative problem solving, a group working on sharing ideas and communicating them out. So what is design? Is anyone familiar with this term? Maybe not human-centered design, but design, right? Are we kind of more familiar with that? Okay, great. One way I like to think of design is identifying a problem and then using a certain set of methods to arrive at a solution to that problem. All right? So while it's possible to kind of have all of these different ideas of what it is, I feel like this image right here kind of demonstrates pretty well what's happening. So it's kind of all over the place. There are a lot of ideas, but it's process-driven. There are certain goals that we need to meet, and there are certain needs that we need to satisfy with whatever solutions we have. All right? And again, you can have all kinds of ideas about what design might mean, right? It could mean architecture, it could mean fashion design, it could mean furniture design, industrial design. But at the end of the day, there is a goal, there is a need that needs to be met, and we have certain solutions that we can bring to the table using a certain set of methods. All right? So for us at Design for America, one of the things we like to do is understand. So before we do anything, we like to set up what that problem is. We identify the problem, we immerse ourselves in it, and then we develop a set of questions we call our reframed question. So as far as identifying and immersing is concerned, that means really doing that research, using Google a lot if you have to, going out in the field and talking with people that you want to work with, and gathering that data so that you can eventually generate a reframed question. Now, what is a reframed question? It's essentially what you make to kind of guide your research and your design elements following that. So for us, at Design by Play, the game that I'm working on, have been working on for a little while, it essentially consists of how do we get middle school students to creatively problem solve in a fun way. That's our reframed question. And then from that, we're able to ask a very specific set of questions to guide our research and our design process. Now, after we understand, we create, right? So we ideate. What does that mean for us? That means that we get a huge wall, we get a lot of paper, and we write all of our ideas down. We draw them and we get them all out on the table so we all can see what's happening. In order for us to do that, we need a lot of space. There's some whiteboards, and we'll be doing this in our workshop in just a little bit. And we build these things out. We build them, we test them, and we see what works and what really doesn't. And what this is supposed to do is get us comfortable with ideas working and ideas maybe not working. And I included this graphic. I think it's pretty cool, but essentially what it's supposed to do is you'll see here kind of at the bottom, the kind of chunks of the design process, and it's supposed to mirror this idea of how much time you can expect to spend at different points in the process, but also get you to think about, hey, maybe I might have to go back and do something in this process of like going forward and going back. We call this iterating. So sometimes you might need to iterate multiple times on one part of your project just to make sure that it works. All right, and of course, you can have fun doing this. These are just pictures of people from Design for America National, and it's really supposed to be about helping communities, real people, help them work with real problems. And that's what kind of our role is for that. So how do we specifically, I've alluded to my team multiple times, Design by Play, how do we specifically create impact? I like to think about my time in middle school and thinking about how I didn't really have outlets to express my creativity, or I didn't really feel like there was a space for me to work on problems that were typically for adults. And so what I think this game that we're working on can do is really be that platform, be that space for students to work through their communication skills, but also create problem solving. All right, and behind me are just some headlines from a number of publications that are reminding us why it's important for us to have creative problem solving in our society. It is hugely important, and it's useful, right? We can solve problems in real time and much more efficiently if we develop these skills together. And as Bob the Builder reminds us, anything we can do, we can fix it, right? Any problem we have, it can be fixed. So what you're looking at here are just some prototypes of our game. This is a very early kind of mock-up of what we're doing. If you look on the right, you'll see that we have some cards and then kind of like a whiteboard space. And the basic premise of the game is to do just what we did earlier in this talk. Set up some prompts and then give you the space to solve that problem. So we kind of call the cards prompts, but they're also design constraints, most importantly. Just kind of getting you closer and closer to what those good questions you can ask yourself are, and then solve them. So again, the basic guideline is get some people, get them in a room, give them some markers or something, some kind of materials to build with, give them a whiteboard to kind of draw those ideas out on, and some guidelines. So you can kind of figure out what the best ways for you to design the solutions are, and we put a time cap on it, so you have to do something a set amount of times. All right, and we've tested this product multiple times now. This is some pictures from testing section we ran with another school here in New York, and it's gone well. And the feedback we've got from people is that it's generally a very fun process, and we hope that you'll have fun following this talk as well. But some of the things we've paid attention to are how do we get people to communicate those ideas out? How do we get them to represent their ideas? Why is that important? And how do we get people to feel more confident in being creative and stepping outside of that box? Right? And this is the thing that we like to think of as divergent thinking. So what does it mean to kind of step outside of what the group is saying, come up with as many ideas as you can without having to worry about someone saying, no, think like us. All right, and again, these are just kind of the key things that we look for when we're testing the game and also in the conversations that we've had, and these are some things that have come up for us. All right? Now, I just want to close by sharing an idea with you. One of my teammates who's here with me today, Daniel, he and I were talking last night about the power of ideas and the power that you all have as students, faculty, parents, and the power that resides with those ideas. Right, and we were thinking about 3 levels of ideas. That first level being, if we have a problem, we can generate something to meet it. And that's what we did earlier, right? We had a problem and we had something to meet it. That's level 1. But level 2 kind of moves beyond just responding to a problem, but also getting other people to think about their own ideas, to have them be responsive as well. The second level is kind of generative, right? It makes more. But that third level, and this is something that I feel everyone in this room has the ability to do, that third level really gets people to influence new ideas. So the idea that is responsive encourages other people to think about it, and then later influences new ideas to shape them and direct where they later go. That's really powerful. And I feel like everyone in this room has the ability to make level 3 ideas. So I take that very seriously, and I think that we should all just go for it. Make that time, make that space for us to just go and do it. All right? And if you want, you can email our team directly at designbyplay@gmail.com. And you can also check out the rest of the Barnard Columbia Design for America studio at our website. All right?